today we are going to be listening to Tim Gifford talk about IT modernization. And yeah, if you have any questions, either put them in the chat or speak up and we can get those answered for you. All right.
Great. Well, thanks, Elise. Thanks everybody for joining for the next 16 minutes. I do have a lot to cover, and I may go over, so I do apologize ahead of time. But today we're going to talk about IT modernizations, systems for modern IT. And when we think about IT modernization, a lot of times I think people think about technology, about the legacy systems and how things have been aging and we haven't been keeping up, and the technical debt that we've accrued. I like to think more about the overall systems that are associated with it, the work environment, the teams, the reporting structures that we need in order to support modern technical solutions. And it reminds me a lot of what the manufacturing industry went through in the 90s, early and mid 1990s, about how they went through a lot of these lean transformations. And I think we're kind of finally catching up with that in the IT space. So why do we need IT modernization? Well, as we know, IT has changed, and a lot of the organizations that have been doing haven't changed. This Polycom that's on the picture here, I remember when these were all over the place. And these are cool Polycom phones. Well, now we don't use those anymore. We have video chat, we have video TVs, we have Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And so even something that was state of the art just a few years ago is now almost antiquated. And so there's three main things that I like to think about on how things are changing. Because of that pandemic that caused these Polycoms to go out of favor, we've got, those workforces changing. I think we need to have improved productivity on our IT side. And because the market's changing, we have to continually reduce our overall time to market. There we go. So this first one about the workforce is changing. Kind of think about the 4 R's. Since the pandemic last couple of years, a lot of people have been retiring. They have resigned and moved on to different organizations. They've been relocating. A lot of people are not interested, they realize that they didn't have to work from the same place that they always have. And, or they're reconsidering their professions completely. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind, and how our IT systems can help, how we can manage those. The other thing on why we need IT modernization is we need to improve our productivity. I like to think about how we have less clay. We used to mold our systems from nothing, and now I feel like we've got Legos. We've got more and more Legos, and we have to find the right size of Lego for the systems that we're building. I also think because of those abstractions, we have all of these cloud services that we can use. We have open source components that we can use. And these allow us a level of reuse that is not at the level where we purchase software as much anymore. We can take and plug and play all of these different smaller level components together, so that it changes the buy versus build equation. It used to make a lot more sense to purchase software, a commercially off-the-shelf system. Well, now, because we've got all these right-sized Legos, it's a lot easier to build those types of systems. We don't have to abstract at the business process anymore. We can extract at lower levels and aggregate these pieces together. The other thing that's happened is hardware is now software. We have great virtualization tools. All your servers are virtualized, most likely today. We can automate our infrastructure as code. And we even have software-defined networks. We have SD-WANs. We're defining what our networks are with software. So I don't know if I tend to land more on the software side than the hardware side, but I think if I had to pick a winner, I would say that software has won. And because of all of these things are now software and we've got the right size Legos, I feel like modern software is a low code environment. We don't have to build everything from scratch anymore. So I think that's really cool. The cost to create software has never been lower, and I do believe it will continue to go lower over time. The other thing is we need to have a reduced time to market. Our customer expectations have changed. Brandon mentioned in the digital transformation talk from last month about how digital transformation is really about those customers and what their expectations are. I like to think of customers expect Google speed and same day shipping. And so in order to accomplish that, IT modernization, your organization has to be able to deliver, their IT systems have to be able to deliver to meet those customer expectations. Markets are shifting constantly, so we need faster feedback and learning. We need to be able to get into a market and get out of a market based on what we learn. And the companies that are doing that the fastest are going to be the ones that are winning. Every business initiative that's out there, I should say, not all of them, very few do not require technology anymore. One of my pet peeves is this idea of saying IT in the business. You know, I never hear marketing in the business or sales in the business or finance in the business. So IT is a critical piece of any business initiative that's happening today. And then the other thing, when we're purchasing software is in order to reduce our time to delivery, if we get connected or we purchase software, we get stuck in their ecosystem, the software supplier becomes a monopoly. And so we have very little control on how we can make changes to their system. And so anytime that we're purchasing that software, we have to understand that it's going to slow down our ability to get out to the market faster. So I'd mentioned kind of what these systems for modern IT are. And I've kind of broken these into three, right? So I had talked about how we need to create these work environments for teams, reporting structures to support modern technology. And so we're going to go through like what a modern environment looks like, what some of the modern flows are, what modern teams and modern structures might look like. Speedy. There we go. So a modern environment, since the pandemic, people don't want to come back to the office. They want to work from anywhere, WFA. We need to provide, these organizations need to provide an environment where people can do that. LT, lean techniques, we have this no vacation policy. This is not an unlimited vacation policy because unlimited vacation policies are not true. We would not be in business if everybody took unlimited vacation, but we do not track it. It doesn't, we just expect people to do what's best for themselves and just make it simpler, like take time off when you need it, but we don't track how much time, we don't accrue it over time. We just want people to be responsible and understand that there's a work-life balance. Great tools. So we need great laptops. If you're hiring software engineers, they need the latest and greatest laptops. That shouldn't be a concern. We should be constantly looking for ways to give them the best tools to increase their efficiency. We don't need to fall into the, like, if you have two monitors, I don't expect twice the performance, twice the output, but we should give them the tools they need in order to be successful. We need to provide transparency in these environments. And so I don't know if any of you have heard about ESG. This is something executives in the financial industry is talking about. This is companies that are focused on environmental, social, and corporate governance, making sure that companies are working in an ethical way, making sure that they're doing things that support the environmental policies and making sure that we're not doing evil things. And then DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, making sure that we understand why we're doing these things and what's happening. I believe next month we have our next Lean BYTE is kind of something associated with, I can't remember the topic, but some of the work that we've been doing in the DEI space, we're presenting on next month at the next Lean BYTES. And then teams need to know what their purpose and their vision is. we're not working for paychecks anymore. We want to work for a bigger, a broader reason. We want to make an impact to the world. We want to understand what our impact is going to have. And I think it's important for companies to have that. Man, these 15 minutes go fast. Modern flows. A lot of traditional IT focuses on batches. Overnight, we run a batch. Those need to turn into streams. We don't download movies from Netflix. We stream them. We don't do things in big batches. Everything turns into a stream, whether it's the workflow where we do Kanbans, where it's data flows, where you've got technologies now that do streaming. And that ultimately will reduce our lead times. We don't want to batch up our defects. We want to have this defect-free mindset. We don't let them queue up. I've always asked, why do we wait till we have 50 defects to fix them? Why don't we just do them every time there's one that comes in and just keep it at 0, right? Why is 50 better than 0? And then operations first delivery is this idea that we think about operating our software in production on day 1, and making sure that we've got the flow all the way out to production, all the way to from us delivering the software till the time that we get it out into our customers' hands. Modern teams. I think we need the teams to be durable. We want them to align to a value stream, whether we call that a product or a product line. Like I mentioned before, they need to be cross-functional. It's a business initiative that just doesn't fit within IT. The other thing that's going to happen with these modern teams is they're going to be highly sought after in the market, highly marketable. So we have to create an environment where they choose to be as a part of our organization and not just doing it because they feel like they have to. So we're going to create an environment where they can learn, adapt, and become highly marketable. And then what kind of organizational structures do we need? I see more focus on the customers, which means we're not so focused on reporting up to our bosses in our functional area, but we're more focused on we are beholden to our customers. And so we're working as a group of people to satisfy them more than we are trying to satisfy our hierarchy. So can we create a network of teams that are working together to satisfy different segments of the market? And then create intentional communication hubs to allow those teams to communicate with one another. Capacity-driven architectures. I want to make sure make sure that we're creating the right systems by putting the right people with the right capabilities in the right place. So if you want to do more software engineering, we need more software engineers. If you want to do more systems integration, you need more systems integrators. We need to make sure that we get the right people in the right spot. We want to distribute that decision-making, make those teams autonomous. And I think what's most important is creating this incubator for leaders. There's one attribute of a leader, and that is followers. The other thing that leaders need is great leaders do is they tend to create other leaders. And so how do we create this environment where leaders create other leaders, and those leaders have and we just build more and more leaders within our system. So what does a postmodern IT shop look like, right? So if we look at those 3 things that we talked about earlier, how the workforce is changing, talent attracts talent. So if you can create an environment where talented individuals want to work, we're going to find that other people want to work with those talented individuals. We want to make sure that we give them a purpose and they understand the broader vision of why they're doing this work. We want them to be continual. They're going to be continuous learners, and they're going to be growth mindset. They're going to want to learn more. They're going to be empowered, and they will be highly desired in the market. Improved productivity. The thing about IT modernization is a big batch solution to a traditional IT problem. So if we're streaming continuously and doing continuous improvement, we should never have to do an IT modernization again. If you have to do an IT modernization again, you didn't do it right the first time. We think about smaller batches and continuous improvements, not big batch improvements. So hopefully once we go through this, you don't have to do it again. We're obviously going to focus and have limited work in process. Most of our systems, here I'll talk about technology. I think most of our systems are going to probably be cloud solutions. And And I didn't talk about DORA. I'll talk about this in a little bit, but the DevOps research and assessment tools that are out there, your organization should be in the elite category. And then we've got this reduced time to market. So like I mentioned, all of these teams should be focused on the customer experience. We're going to think about the big picture, not just about the little ifs and thens and whens of our code that we're working on, but how does our system fit into the larger ecosystem? Of course, we're going to do automated handoffs to reduce that time to market, or automated delivery. So we're going to build and deployments and automated testing systems will all be there. And then we'll have limited handoffs. We're going to have more people that are like T-shaped skills so that they won't have to hand off to shared service teams. So for our next steps, I went through a lot of stuff. There is a tool that DORA provides called the Quick Check. So if you're interested where you and your organization are at today, there is a quick check you can take, and I have a tab over here. It's 5 questions, so it's very quick and easy to fill out. And when you're done filling it out, it will give you an idea of where you're at. And you can get more information on this. And you can also compare where you're at with the rest of the industry and get an idea. So it's kind of an interesting, quick little hit that you can take. And if you want, I'd be really interested, if you want to grab that link, I think it would be really cool if you sent us an email with that link and we could keep that conversation going if you're interested in some of the ideas that we have to maybe see what we can do to pump up the IT modernization within your organization. All right, I am a couple minutes over. I do appreciate you joining. This will get, I believe, posted on the YouTubes, and I will turn it back over to Elise.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I just put the survey link in the chat, and I will be emailing it out along with the slides, so you'll be able to have that link that Tim was just talking about, the DORA link. So yeah, thank you so much for joining, and then join us next month for Drew Connolly's Lean BYTES about DEI. And then I will send out an email with a bit more information about her presentation. So thank you so much, everyone.